So let's add another view to our songs. So in the song folder, I'll add a view. It's gonna be empty view. And this one's gonna be called edit. I'm gonna remove all those comments here. And we are editing or adding a single song. So we will pass in a model of the song. Let's create the title. So in our view bag. And remember, this view is used to add a new record or edit one. And when we go to our song controller, note that I created a view bag with the action property. And the action property is add if we are adding a record, or edit if we are editing a record. So in our view, the title can simply say add song or edit song. So we'll use another view bag with the action property and concatenate the word song to it. So like I said, it will say add song or edit song. Now let's create a header. And the header will say whatever the title is. Again, since this is either add or edit, we don't want to hardcode it here. We want to go to our view bag and use whatever is in the title. So again, it will say add a song or edit song. And now we can create the form for adding and editing. So let's create a form, and the action is edit, and the method is post. And for this form, we can add a validation summary. So if the user tries to, for example, add a record that is not valid, let's say the range for the year is wrong, or tries to submit an empty property, then the validation summary will show the error. So let's create a div, and this is gonna be validation summary tag. And we want to display all errors. And we can format it with the text -danger, so that will make the text red. Alright, so now let's start adding our properties to the form. So let's create a div, and I'm gonna format it as a group, so it's gonna be form group for the class, and it will have the label and input. So let's add the label, and the label is gonna be bound to the name property. So that's our first label, and the text on it can be name. And then we'll have the input for this property, so it's gonna be bound to name as well. And let's format it with a class for form control. And these are the ones that we already used before, so you should be starting getting familiar with these Bootstrap classes. So this is a text box and a label for the name. Now let's create another, but let me just copy this and paste it here, because the formatting stays the same. The div will be form group, but the property that this is gonna be bound to is year. So the text on the label will say year. And of course the input is gonna be also year. And I'm gonna paste one more time, and this is gonna be for the rating. So it's gonna be bound to rating property. So it can say rating for the label, and bound to rating property in our input. Now just like we did for the deletion, we need to have an ID of the song that we want to delete. And we don't want to show it to the user, so we'll use it as an input that is hidden. So I'll create another input, but this time the type of it is gonna be hidden. And this is gonna be bound, so it's gonna be ASP4, and this is gonna be bound to the song ID, just like for the deletion. So now a form will pass this ID into the action to add or edit the record. And we need a button, but I'm gonna just go to delete view, and I'm gonna copy both these buttons for delete and cancel and paste them here, because it's easier to just modify them. So the button is gonna be submit, it's gonna be primary button, but instead of delete, it's gonna either say add or it's gonna say edit. So again, we will make this dynamic, and we will go to our view bag and use the action property. So that's gonna be the text on the button. And if the user wants to cancel the operation, we will redirect back to home and index. So this stays the same. Alright, let's see if it works. I'm gonna run this. And I'm going to add new song. You can see the view shows empty text boxes. Now the formatting may not be what you would like, so feel free to format it in any way you want. I'm gonna leave it as is. As far as I'm concerned, it looks alright. Because these are the forms that simply add or edit songs. And I clicked add song, so you can see the title is add song. In fact, let's go back home and let's click edit. And you can see it opens the same view, but this time it says edit song and the button says edit as well. If you notice, the one before said add, and it populates the text boxes with the values for the properties because they are bound to the model. So let's go back home again and let's add new song. So everything seems to be working correctly, but we don't know if it actually is going to add anything. So let's just call this one test song. And I'm going to make the year 2022, which is outside the range. Remember, we have a range from 1900 to 2021. So this should show an error. In fact, I'm going to use the rating 10, which also should show an error. So let's try to add this. And you can see the year must be between 1900 and 2021, and rating between 1 and 5. So let's fix this. I'm gonna give it a 5 rating and click add. And the song was added, and we are redirected back to the home page. And here is my song, test song. You can see 2021 is the year, rating is 5. So we successfully added the song to the database. In fact, let's go back to our database. I'm going to go to my server, and I'm going to go to my table for the songs, right click and view data. And you can see that indeed the test song was added to the database and it created the ID 4 for it. So this is not just in memory, this is now a record in the database. So let's go back to our application. And now I'm going to edit this song. So I click edit, you can see it opens the edit page. And I'm gonna edit the song name, just add 2 to it. Let's say this one's gonna be 2019 for the year. And the rating is gonna be 1. And I'm gonna click edit, and you can see the name changed, the year changed, and the rating changed. And again, if I go to the database and view data, you can see everything was modified inside the database. So that was the add and edit. Now let's delete this song. I'll click delete. Here is asking us to confirm the deletion. I'll click delete, and the song is gone. And we are redirected back to our home page. Let's check the database. I'm going to see the data, and you can see the song is now gone. So we successfully created an application that creates, edits, and deletes records. But what if we want to change something in the model? For example, we have the song name, year, and rating. What if we want to also add the genre of the song? Currently, we don't have that available, and we have to also add it to the database if we want to use it. So let's see how to use another migration to add another field into the table, and then we will also modify the controller and views to include the genre of the song in the queries.